All right. Well, another thing that we've been tweeting about a little bit online is this whole tanking issue and whether or not things need to be changed, whether or not we're really at a point where what's happening right now is going to continue to make teams want to be bad, and whether or not that's a bad thing. You and Ethan have had, let's bring Ethan on here. You and Ethan have had some conversations about it, so we're just going to open the forum and let you guys, in a more than 140 characters at a time place, discuss this.
I have had a bulging just disc waiting to talk to Jason about this. I'm very excited.
Me too.
Very excited to talk about it. I just want to know. Okay, I mean, this is broadly. I just want your broadly stated opinion on this. Do you think that tanking exists? If it does, do you think it's a problem? And do you have any interest in addressing it? Three-part question.
I think it exists. I think proclaiming that it exists would force me to admit that that would be a problem. I'm just not sure of the scope of the problem, and I kind of feel like if this incentive to tank is so bad, why is it so hard to figure out if tanking is happening and for why? And for what? Is there a third? I forgot the third thing.
It's okay. It actually froze you and made it garbled, so I would have missed it anyway, regardless of anything that happened here. So it's all good. No, I certainly understand that. I think that what ends up happening is that there's a bit of a disconnect or an organizational ambivalence where some elements want to tank and other elements don't. You know, in the case of the Warriors, it's essentially like chess pieces have been pulled off Mark Jackson's chessboard. And I want to know, does that concern you at all, or do you think that's a problem if we have teams that are not united in purpose? Or is that just kind of whatever, that's background, and that's not a big deal?
It doesn't so much concern me because I feel like that situation that you just described creates the same effect as teams tearing down to, you know, get into a free agency bonanza, which is, you know, would be a united front for a team, a definite strategy, but doesn't that, it creates the same effect. And it creates it for longer. You know, in the Knicks case, it was a 3-year rebuilding period, which they were terrible, and they were trying to win, but they sucked. And the years before that, they were trying to win too. They weren't exactly trying to tank.
Well, but don't you think that there might be a difference? I mean, the way I feel about it, it comes down to this. Yes, teams will sacrifice victory for the greater good going forward, but trying to clear the decks for free agency bonanza is teams sacrificing the possibility of victories in order to get more in the future. They would be more than happy to win in the interim. You know, if by some miracle, even though they tore it down like Denver did and they started winning, that would be great. My problem with tanking is that the losing is an end of itself. And I think that's what I find bothersome, that in the moment, a team might want to lose and be incentivized to directly lose. I feel like I like your analogy, and I think that that's valid, but I do think that's a bit of a difference in kind. What do you think about that? I'm grilling you.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair, but I think what you're talking about comes down to a difference in intent, and I'm just not sure how you separate that from teams legitimately using a strategy of long-term tearing down. It just seems too difficult to separate with just the remedies that I've seen. To separate that dichotomy of tearing down versus let's lose, because the effect can often end up being the same.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess it's funny. I wish I had a better, stronger argument, but for me it comes down to a very emotional reason. And by the way, what's also distracting me is that somebody mentioned that it would blow their mind if you came out of the door behind me, because we have very similarly shaded apartments right now, and I agree. I would be surprised. That would be a great way to win the argument, like a final flourish on your part. I don't know what I'd have to do with that
just
sort
come in
of.
And start stabbing you.
I don't even know. I don't know how I would process that at all. But I think it comes down to a very emotional reason where I really like that in sports you're sharing this collective experience with others. And I think it makes for a better experience when fans are united in their sense of purpose. When I'm at Oracle, I don't feel that anymore. I feel like some fans want them to win and other fans want them to lose. And that's just a worse experience. And though from a detached irony perspective, maybe I can appreciate it a bit, but I just think that it's corrupting the fan experience. And I hate to be a moralist about it, but I do. And please don't stab me. I just wanted to protect myself from that. But yeah, I think it corrupts the purity of the fan experience.
Well, I think that's fair, but has the fan experience ever been truly pure? If that's like what I wanted, I'd start following Fish again or something like that. Like to feel that unitedness with the crowd. It's just not. I don't know if that is really should be a huge concern in terms of changing the system.
All right, well, that was I appreciate the good constructive conversation there. I guess my take on it is that yes, we want the best the best players, I think, should go to the teams that need them most. But I think that there's got to be there's two things. One, there's got to be a less inefficient way, or you could also say more efficient way to help bad teams than by sending them to the lottery. And I think that there's also has to be a way that you can pair that with incentivizing more effort towards the end of the season. Then that would be a dramatic improvement. And, honestly, like, these days, I actually am lucky enough to do this professionally, and like I still am like, okay, well, do I even want to watch this team? Like, what am I gonna learn? And this is not even from like I like this team. It's like I will watch this team to get paid, but like I can't even watch them because I know that this is like a meaningless 48 minutes for these random 7 players.
That's the other emotion-based argument is I have to watch the Warriors.
But it's not. But it's not meaningless. Some of these guys are trying to get a job. Like these guys are trying to get something long term. Like at least you can take that out of it of these guys are fighting for their own future, maybe not the future of the team, but Charles Jenkins is actually trying to have a career here. He's not necessarily playing 48 meaningless minutes. They're not necessarily meaningless. Maybe just meaningless in the grand scheme.
That's fine.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Well, yeah, Dominic McGuire was doing everything but like taking a ping pong ball out and just stomping on it, in front of the crowd. Yeah, certain guys are definitely trying. It feels like they're trolling the fans because they're trying to win, and I would just like to eliminate that element if the repercussions or the unintended consequences were manageable.
Well, same as it. I mean, as a Knicks fan, I feel like I've experienced that for about 400 years. That exact situation, of guys coming out,
but without draft picks.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, without the anti-tank draft picks. So I find that argument not as compelling as others would.
Yeah, when you tank, but part of your tanking strategy is also selling away your draft picks for the awful players that will make you bad.
So risky strategy.
It's a risky, exactly.
Isaiah showed up for.
Been trying since the 90s.
Work every day. They've been trying. Isaiah showed up for work every day. He's got the lawsuit to prove it. So that's not a problem.
All right, thanks a lot, man.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason.